Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Colleen Fahey Rush from Viacom. Really happy to be here at the CIMM Measurement Summit. This is a great venue, a nice change of scenery. I like the format with the tables and the food, and I think it's been a really strong program so far. So now we are going to hear from both Nielsen and comScore with updates on their roadmaps and progress that they're making. We have Kelly Abcarian from Nielsen and Manish Bhatia from comScore. They're each going to give about a 10-minute presentation, and then we're going to have a discussion. So while they're presenting, please do think about the kinds of questions that you would like to ask them when we open it up for Q&A. So take it away. Who's going first? All right, go Manish.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. Always a pleasure to be here at this summit. What I wanted to do in the next 10 minutes is, since this is the first time I am coming out as a combined comScore plus Rentrack, or the new comScore company, I wanted to spend the 7, 8, 10, 9 minutes I have left talking about kind of the capabilities that the individual companies have and how we're looking to bring that together. So it will be very high level, just a few slides very quickly. And then we do have a pretty nice Q&A session, and I'm sure Colleen will do a great job of asking us all the hard questions that we wish we never had to answer on a stage. But that's the fun part, right? So as of yesterday, these were CIMM's guidelines. We've been working with CIMM for 4 or 5 years very, very closely. And a lot of work we've done with CIMM as an organization, some of the individual members of CIMM, like RD at ESPN and others. Where the pillars have been hybrid measurement, measure using passive techniques. Massive data sets are a key. You have to bring in person-centric measurement in the mix. You have to be holistic, covering all different platforms. It has to be comparable to other media for clients to make informed decisions about, relatively speaking, how one media may be doing versus the other. And we have to track content and ads. And our systems have been designed to do that. Now, this morning when I walk in, obviously there's a new set of guidelines in here. And the first one, I don't have any issue with any one of them. The first one said, embrace the competition. So that makes me happy. So I'm ready for a hug whenever you guys are. We can do a group hug outside if you want to do that. So we'll do that. Second one is about MRC. And on that, George is here. He'll get up and talk. But as a company, comScore has been working with the MRC. We have a couple of our services already accredited with the MRC. We are hoping to get more done. And when they are in due process, we'll be happy and willing to share kind of the details of that. But one of the services that is accredited actually is Media-Metrics, which does take into account census and panel data. And it creates a hybrid solution, the kinds that we are looking for television. So we've done that approach. We've done it for digital. We're excited about bringing similar techniques to television with the appropriate modifications as they need for TV. But as I said, no issues, and a group hug after the session. The comScore difference, right? We started off as a panel-based company 15 years ago. comScore did, and very quickly realized that panels alone for digital are not going to be enough. And you need census-level data, and you need to find a way to merge them together. So the issues in some ways we are dealing with television today, we've been dealing with these issues on the internet for a number of years. And we launched our UDM approach back in 2010, so it's been about 6 years or so that we've been pulling in census data, panel data, putting it together. So we are approaching this with a little bit of confidence based on our experience that we think we know how to put this thing together. Scale is another big one. Don't need to talk to you about how fragmented the medium is and how people are consuming content when they want it. And there are thinner and thinner slices of content on newer and newer platforms that need to be accurately counted and included in whatever reporting metric you want. Now, there are two things that are interesting about this slide. Numbers are numbers, right? We have 260 million desktops, 160 million mobile phones, which are actually feeding data back to us. So what you're seeing on the top is where we are collecting data on the devices. We do have 2 panels, the digital panel, which is 1 million people, and thanks to Nielsen, the Nielsen audio panel, which gives us information on radio and television at a person's level, including in-home and out-of-home. So we're combining all of these assets to come up with what we believe is the most in-depth and the most accurate information for you guys. Two things that are different here today in this world. One, a lot of these screens didn't exist 7 years ago, right? I think the iPhone is less than 10 years old. I think it's 8 or 9 years old, right? And the tablet is about 5 years old. So we are now suddenly looking to capture viewership and usage on devices that are less than 10 years old. That's one. Number two is that the old TV never talked back to you. It doesn't tell you what's going on. All these devices are sending signals back to the ecosystem and talking about different aspects of the consumption of the content on those devices. So that creates a new wealth of information that can be harnessed, and we don't have to suddenly rely only upon panels to figure out what's going on and who's doing consumption on these different devices and what does that lead to. Scale. So the amount of information we have on the TV side, today we are reporting television viewing on about 285 plus networks, about 2,000 local stations, VOD transactions, which we get on a census basis. And this is important because VOD, by definition, is on demand. A lot of the advertising on VOD is targeted and growing. So being able to access that information on a census basis to know which content is being consumed and which ads are being consumed in that content at that level becomes pretty critical. And then the websites and the mobile apps. Now, the way the assets are coming together for us, we take the set-top box data, which comes from multiple providers, from the legacy rent-track side. We have all the digital assets from the comScore side, and we've gone through an anonymous matching process using third-party companies, privacy-friendly, and we are now looking at about 10 million people for which we have a single source panel, where we have the TV information on one side and the digital information on the other side. That, to me, is the world's largest single source panel that combines television and digital. I don't know of any other that's bigger than that exists out there today. And that is fueling our services around cross-media measurement, whether that's audience, whether that's advertising, whether that's activation. Those are the three A's we talk about: audience, activation, and advertising. So that's the basis, that's the foundation. And what this scale allows us to do is not just simply add up numbers for ratings. So there are two aspects here, right? One is my show runs on television, X number of people are watching it on TV, here's my rating. But now the same show can be viewed on other platforms also. So I need to understand the totality of my audience for that show. So we need to go out and find who's watching that show on other platforms, bring it back in, and give you a total audience number that includes not just linear television, but all the other platforms where that content is consumed. That's one. Second piece is a little bit more interesting. Who are the people who are consuming my content on different platforms? Who are the people who take my content only on mobile but not on my television set? When people consume my content on Hulu, does that mean they are watching me less on TV or more on TV? How do you answer that question? You need very large data sets. So you have enough people in each one of these segments that you really want to understand. And that, we believe, is one of the key things that we are bringing to the marketplace because of this scale, is the ability to answer questions way beyond simply adding up the ratings. We are doing that, but it goes way beyond that and gives you tools that helps you really understand how people are consuming content in this very different environment. So you can proactively make decisions about where to license your content. Who do you put it out for? How much should you be charging for it? Is it a deal on the table to be had with a Roku or an Apple TV or your own app? And is your app taking away viewers from your TV content or not? I'm sure you guys are struggling with these questions. And these are fundamental questions about audience accumulation, right? When I started in TV, there were two aspects. There's programming research, help me understand and build audiences, and then ad sales research, which goes into help me sell it. So the first aspect is a little bit more complicated, where you need to really understand what is your best strategy to get your content out there so you get the maximum number of people. Then you go into the ad sales side and say, okay, how do I now monetize all this audience and how do we monetize that content? And we are very mindful of both those aspects, that you have to build the audience before we can go in and monetize that, and we want to help you on both sides. You guys know this stuff, right? You need scale because you really need to get into everything, not just ratings, but also advanced demography, local market reporting, automotive purchase patterns. Legacy rent track and now the new comScore has access to all this information, our set-top box data, and now our digital data, because we've done the linkage, has information on automotive purchase, has information on CPG, has information on credit cards. So we can provide clients with information around not just who's watching or who's on the website, but a whole lot of product purchase information around the consumer also. all in one single data set. The other thing we are proud of is the experience that we bring to the marketplace, we believe. The legacy Rentrak team has been working on set-top box data for the last 11 years. And in that 11 years, you learn stuff. And hopefully we are smarter today than we were 11 years ago when we started this journey. Same thing can be said about the legacy comScore side. You start off, we had only a panel. And then every month, every day, every minute, every year, you learn more. And you try to strive to make your services better and better. So what we are coming up with now is a significant experience, expertise, and understanding of big data, of digital data, of set-top box data, what to do with it, how to clean it up, and acceptance in the marketplace. You have the TV-only clients, are about 1,200 plus that are using our set-top box-based television measurement services. Combined, the company has over 3,200 clients globally. So that's the vote of confidence we have right now from the marketplace on people who are using our data for digital television, and hopefully and increasingly the combination of the two as we start bringing that to the marketplace. So as I said earlier, it is audience, it is activation, it's advertising. All these solutions are available today. We are talking to clients. We just finished off our what we call T0, which is the first cut of the cross-media data. That we are having one-on-one meetings with our clients and sharing that information with them and talking about that. So that's my high-level top-line story for now. And as I said, I look forward to the questions from Colleen and from you guys in the next half an hour or so. Kelly?
Thank you. Later, man. All right. So I'm going to actually talk about total audience and what Nielsen has done to really bring this from a vision to a true reality. So I'll start off with our go. See, this is the kind of hug you would have given me. All right, I'm going to start off with the fact that total audience is really a framework. It's a framework that describes the marketing and media workflow. So when you think about planning, cross-platform planning, moving into audience-based segmentation and targeting, and then all the way ultimately to post-measurement, that really enables you to understand the efficacies of the media buy. Yesterday, we announced our Nielsen Marketing Cloud, which really enables us to take an integrated tech stack and allows us to bring this data together to allow you to do in-flight optimization, campaign activation, and ROI analytics and studies. I'm going to spend the rest of my time really talking about the post-measurement, the total audience capabilities that we're working with many of you here in the audience with today. So when we set out to solve this need, we kept hearing, and the CIMM and the presentations that were done here were some of the ones that spoke the loudest, which is the C3, C7 ratings really are not telling the true total picture of our audience. And so now this is real data coming off of our total audience platform that enables our clients to tell that complete picture across that data set. And so as you can see, by being able to add in all of those additional platforms for this broadcast prime drama, it really enables you to increase the number of audiences that exist or tell the story around the audience size out to that 35-day window. In this case, it's adding a 20% increase to that average audience. When we talk about total audience, we talk about it that it's really four things. I'm going to just quickly go through these. First, it's being able to measure across all devices and all platforms and across both the linear and the digital dynamic ad model. The second thing is it's about being able to create truly comparable metrics across TV and digital, truly being able to align TV and digital together in an apples-to-apples way. The third thing that total audience is being able to create a separation of measurement of ads from content. So truly being able to create a true content measurement and ad measurement. Because as the world continues to evolve, the relationship to an ad to a piece of content is evolving and changing. And lastly, it's to produce a comprehensive rating solution that is all-inclusive and allows everyone to participate, both traditional media owners as well as digital-first publishers and players. And it really enables you to measure across video, audio, and text. So let me talk about kind of three core areas of what we've brought to the marketplace and launched in January with our clients. Today, the media owners have a proprietary view of their data only. So this data is not broadly available out in the marketplace across the buy and sell side. But we're working very closely with our clients, and I don't think you can underestimate when you really take television and you turn it on its side, the work involved to really get everyone to that same page around how we introduce these comparable metrics into the marketplace. So what is in total content ratings? Well, first we start with all of the television data that credits to the linear Live plus 7 data set today. So this is live viewing, time-shifted viewing coming off of DVRs and VOD, as well as even digital that carries that same linear ad load. Secondly, we then take the DVR viewing past 7 days out to day 35, and we bring in all of those audiences. So for those first Live plus 7, as well as the DVR out to day 35, we have automatically enabled 140 television networks data set to be enabled in our total content rating system today. Next, the third aspect is to really take all of that television glass screen viewing that is not contributing to the currency today. These are things like connected device viewing, set-top box viewing happening on VOD programming, as well as SVOD happening whether on a connected device or even in some of the cable operators where SVOD has been enabled, or smart TVs. We have 55 plus networks participating in this measurement today, and we're bringing all of that viewing, and that's enabled in total content ratings today. Lastly, we want to enable all of the digital viewing that's happening not connected to a traditional television set. This is things like your mobile devices, smartphones, tablets, and computers. So we've enabled our SDK across 17 plus networks that have enabled our SDK out in the marketplace that enables us to capture viewing on their own apps. And all of that viewing is reporting into total content ratings today, along with 5 MVPDs, TV Everywhere apps, which is also contributing to total content ratings today. So we've really gone from a vision of data that we wanted to bring together, and we've really brought a robust set of data, and we continue to work with our clients on that enablement. So I wanted to just spend some time, because I think that it's not well understood that Nielsen actually has been measuring 100% of total television time since we installed the first electronic meter into our panels. That was back in 1987. I get that TV connected devices actually weren't thought of back in 1987. The fact is that anything that's ever been connected to a television set, from a DVR to a VHS, and believe it or not, we still measure VHS in our panel, to Blu-ray players, to TV connected devices, to game consoles. If you can plug it into the television set, Nielsen measures it in our 40,000 represented persons panel. We have over 50,000 connected devices alone in this panel, and the breadth and depth of the data that we can provide really is the unique differentiator for us, because we can allow you to understand linear viewing side by side with VOD viewing, side by side with connected device viewing, all against the same set of rich characteristics and representation of the panel. So secondly, I'd like to tell you that it was really easy to build total content ratings, but it was very difficult, because as you think about the way in which you got to bring TV and digital together, the rules that this industry grew up against in which to create the television program ratings don't always nicely tie to how you can bring in the VOD and digital viewing. So let me just go through several of these things, because I think they're important to call out. The first thing is that because we're bringing digital viewing in, you don't actually have to have a television set to connect. So using a universe definition of US television households doesn't work when you're bringing together TV and digital. So the universe that this is based on is total US pop. Secondly, in traditional television program ratings today, it's based on a telecast. Well, in VOD and digital, it doesn't always nicely tie back to a telecast. And so in order to align the audience number into a single number, we are tying this at an episode level. Along those same lines, the way that time-shifted viewing gets credited today in the television world is, once again, tied back to that telecast. VOD and digital don't always nicely tie to a telecast. So we're crediting all the time-shifting viewing to the actual day of view versus back to the telecast. Next, we needed to only measure content minutes. So we wanted to just capture pure content minutes across all platforms and across all devices. And along those same lines, therefore, we could care less whether the ad load was linear, whether it was dynamic, or no ad load at all. And then lastly, there were several metrics that were more straightforward to align, and then there were several metrics that were real challenges in which to bring alignment across. As you think about how frequency gets calculated in digital, it's really based on the average number of views per that unique viewer. But the way in which traditional frequency is calculated in television, it's how many times did that viewer have an opportunity to see that same repeated minute. You can't really just align those things because television doesn't have the concept of views. And so Nielsen had to spend a lot of time with our clients working through how would we create a definition of frequency and therefore reach in a total content cross-platform world. Lastly, it's really important to get duplication right, because at the end of the day, understanding that true reach across platforms and across devices is really what everyone in this audience is seeking to understand. Duplication is, I'd like to say, a very complex, and the more fragmentation that happens, the more challenging it becomes. So first, I think you have to focus on the ways in which duplication could occur. One is that it could actually occur of somebody watching multiple times within a single device, like a smartphone. It could also occur where someone watches across different devices, but within the same platform, so a smartphone and a tablet. And the third way is that it could actually happen where someone watches that same content across two different platforms, like TV and a tablet. All of these things mean that you really have to understand how to deduplicate across and in between. I won't bore you with the details because I was told I didn't create a good dummies version at the National Client Meeting last week. So this would blow your mind for sure. So lastly, because of the granularity of the way in which we're bringing together at an episode level, we needed to be able to solve duplication down to that episode level and across platforms. This is just showing you the way in which we are creating this reporting hierarchy and enabling our clients to deduplicate at a brand, sub-brand, program, and episode level. So how does Nielsen do this? Well, our current duplication methodology that we rolled out with our product in January was based on our combined TV PC homes panel. That is a representative panel of the US that has about 30,000 people inside of it. The challenge is that it came with some limitations. The first limitation is we did not always see enough instances of the cross-platform viewing in which to accurately measure duplication all the way down to the episode level. The second challenge is, as you noticed, I mentioned TV PC. We don't actually have mobile observations inside this panel, so we had to make some assumptions around how to duplicate for mobile viewing. So where are we heading? Going forward, we're rolling out a Nielsen data matching service. And what this does is it allows us to take the breadth and the total market coverage that we have. Because realize that when you're dealing with television, you actually have to deduplicate within television itself. That's a little misnomer that I don't think people think about, but Nielsen, because we have persons level viewing and behavior data, we can actually deduplicate because people can watch multiple times on a given television set that same piece of content. You have to be able to deduplicate within television itself. So we wanted to take the persons level viewing data that we have that's representative of the population and which to create a core base for us to deduplicate digital exposure against. So we've created a Nielsen data matching service that allows us to bring in all digital exposures from our third-party data providers and truly enables us to create a single source panel that allows us to deduplicate at the most granular levels and across time. And lastly, come on, okay. Lastly, I'll go really quick. Two more, but 5 minutes less for sure. Lastly, the total audience framework is about measuring an activation, a measurement of many to an activation of one. Our goal in this is to ensure that we enable data sets, Okay, I guess that's how you kick me off stage. And we enable data sets that allow you to bring together that true activation piece that I mentioned earlier. And with that, I'm going to close out so we have time for the panel. Oh, you need that.
All right. You guys are both clearly passionate about your company's pursuit of cross-platform measurement. My first question is around set-top box data. Let's talk about set-top box data because recently Nielsen announced that you'd done a deal with Dish, your first big deal to have access to a material amount of set-top box data. And of course, comScore acquired Rentrack, and that's a lot of set-top box data. So what I think everybody is wondering is, what are Nielsen's plans? What's the difference between your Dish data and your Dish data? Are they the same Dish data or different Dish data? And what other set-top box data Nielsen is potentially pursuing? What comScore, I have to not say comScore/Rentrack because I've been saying that for the past couple of weeks, got to sunset that phrase. What comScore is how you are evaluating your current set-top box footprint, what you want to add in, what you should add in, what you might take away. So set-top box data.
Want to go first?
Doesn't matter.
So yeah, so Dish is only one of the providers we have in our set-top box data set. So I don't know whether we want to compare Dish with Dish, and I obviously don't have the details on what Dish is giving Nielsen. So
Well, you used to have an exclusive deal with Dish.
Yes,
Clearly,
but we have, that's fine, but we have, there's a paper I wrote 7-8 years ago, and it's still posted on the Nielsen website, and after this they might take it down, which talks about the promise and perils of set-top box data. Now, set-top box data in and of itself, we all know, is not perfect. It has biases based on coverage. It has holes because of you don't know who's watching in front of the TV set. There are so many things that need to be corrected for that. So from a new comScore perspective, we've accumulated set-top box data from a lot of different providers to account for the coverage bias. And again, to the best of my knowledge, nobody else has as big a set-top box data set on the planet as we do today, right? Over the last 11 years, we've been working on trying to figure out everything from coverage issues over the air homes. Now with the integration, as we combine digital and set-top box data, we have also, as I said earlier, access to the Nielsen audio panel, which tells us people watching television. And that becomes an input in trying to understand some of the other things and inform that data set. So from our perspective, we have and continue to have for the foreseeable future, one of the largest set-top box data sets out there. And as I said, we've been working and learning from it for the last 11 years. And
right. So that's what you, tell me more about what's coming next.
So our focus right now has been, and I think it rightfully should be, is the integration of the set-top box data with the digital data set to create that integrated single source data set. That is priority number one. And that said, we are obviously, as I'm sure Nielsen is, out there talking to other companies that have set-top box data, whether that's a Time Warner Cable, whether that's a Comcast, whether that's all these companies, and trying to see what more we can secure to continue filling in the coverage side of the equation.
Okay. What are your guys' plans?
So just to speak real quick on Dish, so we signed a long-term deal with them that allows us to bring that data into our currency ratings, both across local, national, as well as total audience, as well as a lot of our marketing effectiveness products like Nielsen Catalina and Nielsen Buyer Insights, et cetera. That's the first deal we've announced, but we've been working with many partners behind the scenes, and really the announcement was we feel we're ready in which to start to work with our clients to bring it into currency-grade systems. Our on-off models today are used in our Nielsen Catalina solution services, and we have a number of patents that we have under our belt that we've been developing, research and development for the last 5 years against. We are talking to more providers in which to bring them on board as well. And so that's kind of Nielsen's strategy. And in regards to kind of like whether Dish is Dish, I agree with you, Manish. I have no idea what your deal looks like in ours. What I can speak to is that because Nielsen has this high quality panel, we can actually work very closely to understand how to clean up this data, because you can't underestimate the work that's needed to really make this currency quality versus analytics. You know, first of all, we have a true validation set that exists so that we can make those adjustments and those corrections and really, you know, not overstate tuning and not bias the ratings because of, you know, representation of dish homes can be higher income, for example. And then secondly, you know, because we have rich household characteristics that we collect across our 40,000 households, we're able to not just blindly accept a blind Experian data match and assume that those characteristics are correct and accurate, and often they don't even have all the characteristics you need. So we use that to adjust, correct, and fill in. And then the third thing is that at the end of the day, no RPD, doesn't matter how much we amass, ever will cover the true total market. You cannot cover over the air. You cannot cover connected devices with set-top box viewing. And all of these things are very important in which to produce currency quality, because you have to measure the total market or you can't produce ratings.
Okay, let's move on. Next is SVOD. Okay, so this one's been, you know, pretty frustrating for a long, long time. And it's hard, you know, I know that Netflix makes it, you know, they keep all their data themselves. We have no visibility into how anybody else's content is being consumed. With the audio signatures approach, that's going to let me know how my shows are being viewed. But I have to determine the source. What I really want is a Netflix bucket and a Hulu bucket of all of the time being spent with those platforms, kind of like, you know, internet-connected devices and live TV. How are you guys going to solve for that, and how are you guys going to solve for that?
Okay,
I need you to solve for that.
Sure. So, you know, 2 years ago, we began what we're calling a 4-phase initiative, which was really being able to measure Netflix in a holistic way across our panel. So today, we're able to, as you mentioned, we're able to actually measure and understand Netflix penetration. So we have a household market break characteristic that understands Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and the penetration across the US footprint. Secondly, we're able to understand the programs and episodes that are getting viewed on a SVOD subscription basis. We just announced 2 weeks ago that on April 25th, we'll be able to produce granular brand-level device consumption. What this means is that Apple TV, Roku, Chromecast, you name it, will be able to give total usage by those devices, penetration by those devices, and then tie program episode usage to those devices. The last step, which is what you're asking for, we're rolling out a new person's streaming meter into our panel homes, and that actually has officially started to happen, and we're working with the MRC closely, because when you have a currency panel, you have to ensure you do no harm when you introduce new technology into a home. So we'll roll out our first replicate into the panel. That will enable us to then move forward with rolling out to the broader panel. But because of the replicate approach we take, I'm very hopeful that come end of the year, I can give you a total streaming number, a total Netflix number, and a total Netflix by your given program that you'd like to measure.
Okay, your turn.
So Artie said earlier that audience measurement in this day and age is a team sport, which is exactly what it is. So as we said, data is coming in from a lot of different places. And neither one source in and of itself is complete. Neither one of them. Any one single source you look at, if you look at only set-top box data, well, that has holes. If you look at only panel, that can only take you so far. When you look at log files, they can only tell you so much. So the challenge here for us, and the way we believe we can help the industry, is trying to pick up and combine the best out of these different sources to give you a complete picture. Then, depending upon the question you're looking to answer, you will go to different sources to answer those questions. So we've had panels. We track digitally, at a high level, time people are spending on Amazon Prime, time people are spending on Netflix, time people are spending on different apps, if it's app-based, any kind of app-based activity. Then you move on to the SVOD world. We are working with our clients. Last ARF, Peter Naylor from Hulu, who's in the audience here, he and I actually presented a joint presentation at the ARF conference on how comScore and Hulu are working together to track audiences for Hulu on behalf of Hulu. So that information is there. We are now working with them to see how we can start including that.
What's the roadmap on that? What's the timing?
So is Peter in the room? I don't want to get ahead of myself a little bit. I don't want, everybody's pointing on that. Said, hey, Peter, I don't want to get ahead of myself. All I can say is
why not?
we are, no, because I don't want to get into trouble with Peter right now. Because without his help, I can't show you the data you want, so I need him on my side. But we are working with them. We are working very closely with them. The approach we are taking with a lot of these players is actually what we call a tagless implementation, where we can take their log files along with the IP address, and we can do an anonymous match, get census level data without putting the burden of tagging on top of them, and pull that in. You must have seen the deal we announced with Adobe also, where we are not actually deploying our own SDK on Adobe, which has been a challenge, I think, in the past. We are literally taking Adobe certified metrics with the client's permission, and we can pull that data into our product and bring that in. We have rolled out our total home, and that's not fiction. We actually have a paying client we signed up 3 weeks ago, and we are picking up all the activity in a household on every single IP-based device. So from our perspective, you look at the assets, we have the digital panels, mobile and PC, we have census level data coming in, we have set-top box data coming in, we have data coming directly from our partners, including Adobe, and we are rolling out the total home panel.
Does that solve for Netflix?
Pardon me?
I didn't hear you say that.
We are getting there. We are actually getting with Netflix also. We have some level of information, top line. I can't today tell you show by show, but that's obviously a nut we're looking to crack. And we have overall usage information on start of app, close of app, within Netflix and all, on every single device. We need to get the next level. We'll get there.
Yeah, we need to get to
One
the next level.
of the mottos of comScore is be brave.
Okay, we have 2.5 minutes left, so I want to remember to open it up to you guys for questions. I see a hand right here.
I'm a loud talker anyway, so everybody can hear me. I hear a lot of discussions about monitoring and reporting on cross-media content for content. But with addressable television and everything else, for advertisers and agencies that want to know how many people were exposed to my commercial, I understand you got to walk before you run, but what's your plans for getting to cross-platform commercial information, which is ultimately the advertisers who pay all of our bills want to know?
Yeah, so Nielsen today, we rolled out in 2012 total ad ratings. And what that does is it allows you to take the linear commercial exposure, combine it with the digital ad rating exposure. That has been a unduplicated, deduplicated reach across TV and digital. And what we have done is that as we've gotten the pickup of mobile penetration for digital ad ratings, this year we're rolling in mobile and connected device viewing into that total ad ratings number. So you can truly understand for a campaign or a creative or however you define those objectives, the true total reach and deduplicated reach for that given advertising exposure, as well as get comparable GRPs across television and digital, across TV, online, mobile, and connected devices.
So,
How do you do the deduplication, though, if you've got millions of set-top box data, but you don't have millions of digital data for the same house?
So the Nielsen data matching system I spoke of, it's the same thing. We would load in the commercial exposures. We already know the commercial exposures on television, and we already dedupe across television sets. And then for the digital, our digital providers will load in those ad exposures, all those tags that campaigns that we tag, and then we'll be able to deduplicate across. The same thing that we're doing for content, just instead of it being content, it would be ads.
So from the comScore perspective, two things I can say to that. One is, being a digital-first company, we've always known that the relationship between content and ads doesn't exist. You got to track content separately from ads. So our philosophy, our thinking, the way we approach media research is, let me track the audience to a website, and that may have zero correlation to the audience to an ad that runs on that website, and we track advertising totally separately. So that's just kind of the mindset we come in with. Now, as we start now tracking and reporting, and we do that, and we have a lot of clients kind of on our cross-media, what we call the cross-media VCE product, scale matters. Scale matters because you have impressions running on so many different platforms being picked up on thinner and thinner slices. You want to look at it by creative. You want to know the demography of people who saw your ad. So we're linking, as I said, the set-top box data set that has been linked to all our digital data sets. We can go in and we can precisely understand where the ad ran on television, who the audience was, where it ran on digital, who the audience was, and understand the duplication. And it is not restricted just to video ads. If you have an ad campaign that includes video and text and so on, and you want to see a combined reach and frequency for that ad campaign, that gets reported out by website, by network, by station. And again, I keep coming back to you need a lot of scale, big data set. High quality, big but high quality, and they can go hand in hand. One is not mutually exclusive with the other. High quality, large data sets to be able to do that.
Okay, another question? Howard.
Hi guys. Congratulations on the progress you guys are making. It's great to see both companies moving along so quickly. But a question, and Colleen sort of got at this a little bit. One of the things I think is important for you to both keep as in line of sight is we need your data to tell us what's going on at a market level. Where is media consumption going across platform? And one of the things we need is line of sight to different segments, whether it's SVOD homes and understanding an SVOD home true cross-platform consumption, broadband-only homes, Netflix homes, whatever it is. And in a world where you're using census data and you're using set-top box data, you lose. I'm curious how you actually get us those segment views that we really need to sort of track what's going on in the market.
Yeah, so Howard, I would agree with you on that. That's why, Nielsen's core panels and the representation and the care that we take in which to track all of those very granular segments and the behavior that then ties to that, and having that longitudinal data. I won't say that we've solved how we're going to overlay that full set of characteristics onto census data. We will always have our representative panel in which you guys can do high quality analytics against. What we're trying to solve ultimately for you is how to do that in a quality way across the full breadth of volumetric data we can bring in and ensure that we maintain that same pristine, because by just introducing big data and not understanding how to ensure that that's accurate, because you don't get those characteristics from any third-party match, as you well know, or anything else. We get it because we knock on doors and we talk to people and we understand their behaviors. And so it is something that we're working on looking how we're going to solve. I won't say that we've solved it yet.
So Howard, from the comScore side, right, we do have a lot more information than you would get from a third-party match. The set-top box data obviously tells us household composition, who their provider is, whether they have broadband or not. Our digital data sets give us that. We have the digital panel also to put it in. And this will become a constant theme over the next months and years. Whenever you see comScore and Nielsen on a panel, is scale. As good as a panel is, there's a limit to how finely you can slice that panel. There's only so much juice you can take out of a lemon. Beyond a certain point, the theory is there, but actually, there's a limit. There's actually, a limit to how much you can do with that. And our approach is, let's take big data, let's understand what you need to do to big data to make it better and make it complete and make it more accurate. And then let's take that out on the road so we can answer the kinds of questions Howard has around, show me the Hulu homes, the Hulu only homes, or the Netflix homes. And the people who have Netflix, but they used to have cable, but they dropped it. How is the viewership going over here, and what do I need to understand about them so I can drive my strategy, not just my ad sales, but also my content strategy.
Okay, we're over time. I had so many more questions about kids and router meters, or maybe they're router meters, depending on how you ask.
We are in America, we call it router meter.
And deduplicating, and so many more questions. But two things. In the past, we've shown a comparison chart. That'll be available on the CIMM website tomorrow. We've gotten, sometimes it's distracting for that to be on the screen. We wanted everybody to actually listen. I'm going to say I heard the word quality a lot and the word scale a lot. And we need those things to come together, obviously. Next up is Alan Wurtzel, who's going to be moderating our next panel. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.